Welcome to the Don't Count Me Out podcast. This program is dedicated to stroke survivors, loved ones, and caregivers, medical professionals, and anyone interested in learning more about this devastating disease and the warriors that face it every day. Our mission is to share stroke survivors' stories of inspiration and hope, form friendships and community, gain knowledge and insights, and the courage to dream and explore new avenues as we find our way back to living. So, my friends, the Don't Count Me Out podcast begins right now.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Don't Count Me Out. Today's special guest, Letisha Living. We're honored to have her. Thanks for joining us, Letisha. How are you doing today?
And thanks for having me on. I'm doing really great. Down here in Australia, it's early morning, but it's always great to chat with you guys.
Well, we love your accent, number one.
I think the same about you guys.
You do.
I never noticed we have an accent, Bob.
I know. Tell us about the book and how it all started to come together.
The book is titled Finding Yourself After Stroke, and it features 26 young stroke survivors from all over the world. Some of the locations are Australia, the United States, Cambodia, Korea, Finland, the UK, and South Africa. I wanted to have a bigger book and lots of stories so that we could show the diversity and unique experiences of stroke, because as we know, as being survivors, our stroke is individual to us and no two strokes are the same. So what I wanted from the reader when they were reading the book is that they could find themselves in there and that they could find something they could relate to.
What inspired you, or what got you started trying to organize all of these authors, publishing and that aspect? That's what would be interesting to me.
It was something that was on my mind for a couple of years before I did actually start. And that being because I'm quite a bit of an introverted person. So going to stroke meetup groups was quite anxiety producing for me. But I wanted to feel relatable and connected with other young stroke survivors. And I just thought to myself, a book would have just been a valuable gift to me, especially in the early days post-stroke when I had a lot of uncertainty about, my new identity and who I was, and a lot of uncertainty around my future. For me, the intention around the book was a gift to other young stroke survivors to feel connected and relatable and know that they're not the only one. And for me, because I did feel like I was the only one. When I had a stroke, I didn't know anybody else that was young that had a stroke. When I was on the stroke ward, I felt completely out of place. It was just quite an isolating experience. For me, the vision around the book was to give something to people who were just starting off, or even years later, to know that they're not alone on their stroke recovery experience.
Did the idea first come to you by participating in Facebook stroke support groups and hearing some of the stories? Or was it something that while you were laying in your hospital bed during your stroke that this was something that you wanted to do?
It came to me a few years ago, just after I was connecting in the stroke groups. So after I was hearing, because I was isolated until then, I still had no idea that other young people were having stroke. So when I went into the groups, I could see I wasn't alone. I could connect with others, and that really helped me accept that I'd had a stroke. So I got a lot of acceptance from that and a lot of emotional healing. By just seeing the connections formed, I thought a book would be a great idea. It's something different. It's something that you can hold. I know when I'm reading books, I put myself into the story. So that's where that idea came from.
Letisha, we've had you on the show a couple of times because your story is so fascinating and a little bit different than some of the other stories that we've heard. We have new people that are not familiar. Why not give them a little bit of the history of what happened to you?
So I had a stroke 10 years ago. I was 35 at the time. I had a 4-year-old at that time and 2 older boys. But I was sleeping next to my 4-year-old when I woke up with a headache that was beyond anything I'd ever had before. And the right side of my body was all tingly, pins and needles. I didn't suspect that I was having a stroke. I thought I was just having a severe migraine. So I stayed in bed and became concerned about my little boy, not wanting to concern him or wake him up. But when the sun sun came up, I realized, oh, something is wrong with me. Something's going on, because I got auras from my migraine, but this was different. So I couldn't see it all out of the right side of my eyes. And I had the pins and needles and I was really struggling to walk. So I went to the medical centre. They thought that I had had a reaction to contraceptive. They gave me some painkillers and told me to rest and I would get better. 4 days later, I was no better, and I went to another medical centre for a second opinion, and it was there that they said, go straight to hospital. So I went to hospital, I was taken in. It was Thursday night when this happened, and I ended up in hospital on Monday. By Tuesday, I saw the neurologist who confirmed that I had had a stroke.
What did they tell you? How were they going to be able to treat your stroke?
They had to do some tests to find out what caused it. During that investigation, they found out that I had a PFO, a patent foramen ovale, which is a hole in the heart. So what had happened was the clot had escaped through the hole and up into my brain. I didn't have the PFO closure until June of 2021. And it has been an incredibly anxiety producing time. That in that 9 years that hole was there, and I knew I had it, and I knew it was the underlying causal factor for my stroke. While it was anxiety producing, I had to also shift past that with my thoughts and just keep moving and getting on with life, because I have kids to take care of.
We remember when you were going through that surgery, and we were praying for you very, very hard, and we were so glad that you came through.
Thank you.
With flying colors.
Absolutely. Getting back to the book, you were petitioning many stroke survivors to partake in this book. You got 26 of us. What were the biggest challenges that you had trying to get this organized?
Finding the people who wanted to share their stories was easy. It was actually the commitment was harder. So I did have a few people say yes and start their journey with the book, but then pull out. So we had quite a few changes. Those changes did delay our timeline a little bit. So originally we wanted 20 authors, and we ended up with 26. So I'm actually really quite happy about the people that we do have in the book, and that it was bigger than we originally expected it to be.
It had to have been motivating for you to read all of our stories, the suffering that we went through, but the tremendous accomplishments that we've made during our rehab. So that, I guess, that would inspire me, or that would motivate me to see all the success stories, because when I had my stroke, we had nothing to go on, no success stories at all. So this book, I think, is really going to help those that maybe are in their initial stages of their stroke, the first week. Holy smokes, when that happened to me, I was awake the entire time. I never lost consciousness, but I can tell you, I sure was scared. I just did a lot of praying, and that helped. And then realized the best thing I can do is work as hard as I can and be a motivation to my family and my grandkids and extended family, and go from there. The stories, I haven't read them all, but those that I have read, I can see where there'd be a lot of inspiration there.
There is, and I love that about all of the contributing authors in the book, is that everybody is very passionate about sharing their story to give hope to others. So it is an amazing compilation. Each one of them, each person in the book has an incredible story. When I was reading them before we did become published, there were lots of tears, lots and lots of tears. I just keep thinking, wow, how incredible is this person, what they've been through, who they are.
What kind of reviews are you getting?
For a little while, it was a little bit overwhelming because it was more than I ever anticipated. So I'm very grateful that we have reached so many people all over the world. We're getting feedback not just from stroke survivors, but family of stroke survivors, OT lecturers, physiotherapists, speech therapists, stroke advocacy groups, aphasia groups, stroke charitable organisations, neuro recovery therapists. It's just been great that we've been able to reach so many people. Not only are we giving hope to stroke survivors, but we're giving our lived experience to the therapists and the medical staff who treat us. And our insights are just incredibly valuable for them. So they're very appreciative of what we've put together. The insights that they're getting, teaching them about empathy and clinical reasoning and how we speak as stroke survivors, what our language is, how we want to be addressed, what our challenges are that they don't actually see. So the mental and physical and emotional challenges are all different. So when you're arriving for say physical therapy, for example, they don't know what's happening emotionally, or if you've got fatigue, or how you're feeling inside yourself. So it gives them a better insight to see us as people first rather as clients.
Anyone who can get a copy of it and read it can see that stroke doesn't just affect Americans or Australians or Asians. It's something that is worldwide. And hopefully by being able to read these stories, we'll be able to make changes to the type of help that stroke survivors receive.
What about a sequel?
So there will be a version 2 available of this book in the future. So we haven't started on that yet, and we probably won't be starting on that this year. So it'll be something that we look at next year. I do feel that the photos are very invaluable because they're real. They show who we are as people and the impacts that stroke had on us, as well as rehabilitation through either physical rehabilitation or speech therapy. When you can see those photos in the book, you can actually visually see the impacts that it was having and get more involved into the contributors' experience.
Before and after pictures.
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot of those on our support groups, and it's amazing, just the photos themselves.
Not just as they're reading the story, but to be able to visually see the change that can occur.
Are the contributors to the book staying together? Do they have an opportunity to share with each other?
Most of us are connected. We had a private author Facebook group. I think most people, if they wanted to connect, the opportunity was there and joined each other's groups and things. So that's been great to strengthen our bonds and connections through the book as well. I'm very big on collaboration. I think the more people we reach, the more people we can connect with, the better we can do for ourselves and each other.
Yeah.
You're in Australia and we're in America. If someone wanted to purchase a copy, what would they have to do that?
Send people to the website because they can see a bit of what they're going to get with the book. So I've got photos there. I've got little excerpts about us and our chapter introductions. But I can message everybody who comes through the website, and I generally do, because I want to find out if they're a stroke survivor, if they're family, or if they're a healthcare professional. It's just something that I like to know, and then I like to let them know, thanks for your purchase, and your book will be arriving on, and give them an expected date of delivery. I'll ask another question when somebody puts an inquiry through for a book. I'll say, how did you hear about us?
But how do we get in touch with you and get a copy that we can have for ourselves?
So if anybody's interested in purchasing a copy of the book, they can go directly to our website, which is https://findingyourselfafterstroke.com. And if they go to the website, they can order directly from there, and we ship internationally. So it doesn't matter where you are in the world. If you're interested, head to the website and you can purchase a copy from there.
Is there any universal thing people have experienced that are stroke survivors that all of us who are stroke survivors could look at and say, I've been there?
I think we have all experienced that shock of finding out that we've had a stroke, the uncertainty that comes after that. Who am I? What do I look like? What does my life look like? Will things return to normal? What's in my future? And then a path of despair and rebuilding a new life, a new version of you after stroke.
A number of people have nightmares. They believe that they're experiencing or may experience another stroke, and how difficult that is. And it's all a part of the progression of healing. We've all gone through that. I didn't have nightmares per se, but I would wake up in the middle of the night. 4 o'clock, I'd be wide awake. I was always afraid that another stroke was happening. So I would say the ABCs to make sure that I could still talk. And if I could do that, then I'd think I was okay and I'd go back to sleep. And you said that you found that you had something very similar that happened with you.
I did. And I would never have thought, I'd completely forgotten about it until we did mention it. The first couple of years, probably 2 years after my stroke, I would wake in the middle of the night and have panic attacks. Like I couldn't breathe. I was having an anxiety attack. And as we were chatting, I realized, oh, maybe that's related to because my stroke happened while I was asleep. So yeah, I found that really quite interesting.
The nice thing that I hear you say is that you had forgotten about it. And that tells me that you have progressed to such a point in your recovery that you're beginning to accept a new life and you can leave some of the threads that you lived with for so long behind. And that's a great breakthrough, I think.
Thank you. And you're correct. I do sometimes catch that with myself as well, where I don't get upset about things that I used to be terribly upset about. And to notice that change it's confidence building because you know that you're progressing and that you are, no matter how, I mean, I'm 10 years post stroke now. So it's great that I can look back and reflect on the journey that I've had and the changes that I've had, and that even 10 years later, I'm still growing and moving forward.
How about you, Bob? Where are you? I know it's been 12 years for you.
Well, still making progress. And 5 years from now, I'll be even better than what I am now, as long as I keep working at it. I do a lot of exercising and I've been practicing the piano.
All right.
I'm terrible, but I'm getting a little bit better.
Is the joy for playing coming back?
Almost. I hit those sour notes. There's not a lot of joy in that, but
Just think of it as a descending chord. You'll be fine.
but yeah, I just I'm just going to keep working at it. And the whole motivation is to help other survivors and show my family and grandkids that, whatever things you're dealt in life, you can get through it. You sometimes don't know the strength you have until the time you need it.
And most of us don't think we're as strong as what we really are. Letisha, I know you're involved in such amazing programs for stroke survivors. You seem to have really built a beautiful foundation for yourself and for what you're offering to other people. Would you mind telling us a little bit about what you're involved in?
I feel like I've come so far in my own journey that I want to give back to, or rather help a lot of other people who are going through challenging times post stroke. What I'm doing at the moment, firstly, I volunteer my time. So I volunteer to my local health and hospital service. I'm a part of the consumer advisory group there. And I was doing some volunteer work for the Stroke Foundation in Australia on a project that they had for young stroke. That project has now come to an end. And I'm also studying mental health, a diploma of mental health, to become a psychosocial recovery coach for young stroke survivors. So I've just started up a new phase of my business, which I've called Stroke Recovery Coaching and Empowerment. And the coaching will come through my qualifications and experience as a paid one-on-one, and the empowerment comes from everything that I can give for free, which will be my advice and tips and on recovery and mental and emotional well-being and confidence.
I don't think any of us expected life to take us in the directions that we've been brought. But to tell you the truth, and I enjoyed my life before my stroke. I mean, I was involved in a lot. I know, Bob, you were too, and Letisha, you were as well. But there's something about being on the other side and reaching a point in recovery where you can accept your new life and allow yourself to continue to grow as a human being and to be able to participate as someone, a loving person within your community. And I would have never expected to have the type of life that I do now, but I certainly do appreciate it.
I echo those thoughts. Exactly. I'm the same. I feel I've had so many curveballs that were completely unexpected. If I look at who I was when I was, say, 19, 20, and what I thought my life was going to be like, it definitely didn't turn out that way. But where I am now, I do feel truly happy with who I am and where I'm going and the life that I do have.
For me, the birds chirp a lot louder and they're a lot prettier. The sky seems to be more blue.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually were experiencing probably the best fall color season in Michigan that we've had in a long time, because we've had so much rain during the summer. So our maypoles are alive and kicking and just showing their bright, beautiful red colors. So I never even really paid a whole lot of attention to before.
I definitely agree with that. There's a deeper appreciation for those little things that we probably were too busy to notice before.
Yeah.
Letisha, do you have anything else you would like to share about your book? Are there any stories that really touched you in a way you weren't expecting?
All of them. Every single person in the book is an incredible person. I shed so many tears just thinking this person is just so amazing whenever I read the stories. And I still feel like that. I've read them quite a few times. I still get emotional and inspirational because I just think, wow, what an incredible human, what they've been through. And I went through a period where I felt like I couldn't talk about my stroke because, like you said, unfortunate as other people were. But then I think, well, hang on a minute. I did have a stroke. This still happened to me. My life was still impacted, may not be the same as anybody else's, but we're all different. And, I probably couldn't have coped because I didn't have that support around me if my stroke was more severe than it was. So, the events that led to my stroke journey was that I'm here now. I did survive, and I've been able to compile this book to help others. And so I really got to get out of the compare, because when I do compare, I get caught up in this. We all have different experiences, and at the end of the day, it comes down to, our thoughts and how we can create better life, regardless of the disabilities or deficits that we have been left with after our stroke.
Well said.
Thank you so much, Letisha. It's always nice to see you, and I wish you well with everything that you have going on. When you get ready to do another book, just let us know.
I will. Thank you so much for having me on. Yeah, I always appreciate your time, and I love chatting with both of you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Letisha.
Bye.
Just remember, everybody, don't count us out. God bless. Have a great day. Bye-bye.